All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back. Today we're recording episode 6 of Caps on the Coast, and we got a lot to dive into. Last week we started off, we were kind of talking about how it's been slow since the end of the MLS season, and there hasn't been much to discuss. But in the last couple weeks here, we've just been bombarded with transfers and some important games to note, and it's just been a frenzy of news in the soccer world. So yeah, we're super excited to break it all down for you guys, and we want to touch on the Whitecaps and their stadium situation because they're not in a good spot right now, as Axel Schuster reported, and they made some new exciting signings, so we can't wait to dive into those as well. But yeah, how are
Mhm.
you feeling ahead of this podcast this week? There's a lot to dive into from
Well,
there.
yeah. Every time you turn the TV on or check your iPhone, there's some new signing or some transfer, or Axel has been sharing his thoughts about the situation for BC Place and so on. So it's been a hectic few days, and just to keep up with things, it's just great to be able to talk about it and share about it.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the beauty of the off season is there's not many games to break down, so we're able to use all of our attention to take in all the transfer news and stuff, and we get to know about all these new players that are coming into the MLS, and that's something we want to touch on today too, is all the MLS transfers because there's been a lot of news on that front. So yeah, I just want to start off with talking about the preseason friendly game that the Whitecaps just played a few days ago. They played Incheon United FC, which is a Japanese side from the League One in Japan, and that was their second preseason game in Marbella, Spain. And they haven't been broadcasting these games, but we are able to see the highlights and read about them afterwards. So that's where we've been getting our information on that. And yeah, it was an interesting game. Finished 1-0, and Brian White got the only goal in that game. But something I noticed was to start off that play, Oliver Larraz, one of our new signings, made a beautiful play in the midfield where he just touched it like behind his back around a player and went around him, and then made a line breaking pass to White, who finished off with a nice shot in the bottom corner. So I thought that was promising to see Larraz show some promise and show that he has experience in MLS and he's played at this level before. So he didn't look out of place in that game at all. And I thought in the second half, the Japanese side really turned it on and they had some good plays. But Takaoka came up big in a few ways and made some nice saves as well. So, yeah, it was good to see them back in action. And I think there was more takeaways from this game than there was from the first game, where they played in the rain. And you can only vet so much of that game on what happened because of the weather conditions. Like, there's not much to take out of it, considering how bad the weather was. So, yeah, what did you see in that game?
Well, you've touched on a number of things there. Certainly, the playing conditions were much better, and it was from the coaching point of view, the weather was not a factor. After the game, Sorensen was saying that he was happy with the game. He was pleased with the tempo, with the fact that they played a pretty good game. Coaches is looking for coaching. The coaches are looking for a certain class of play, a certain style, and he seemed to be happy with that. He said it's not a perfect game, but it was a much better opportunity to watch the team than in the first game. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was promising, and a lot of players showed some good skill. What they've been doing in these games is they start out with one, like starting 11 for the first half, and then at halftime they'll switch to the other players who didn't play. So pretty well everyone at the camp gets a chance to show what they're putting together. And I think it's interesting how Sorensen's choosing to mix up these lineups because he's not necessarily starting all of his best players in one 11 and then the other, newer inexperienced players in the 11. He's mixing them together. So I think it's giving a good game feel to those new players because they get to play at a pace with players like Kubas and Berhalter and Blackman, who have played well all season, and they get to experience what it's like to play in a game with them. And I'm sure Sorensen's keeping an eye out for how those young players are adjusting to the speed of the game. And yeah, they've looked well, and it was a promising game for sure. Another game that we can talk about, which happened yesterday, was Tigres versus Forge. and this game was played in Hamilton, Ontario, and it's said to be one of the coldest games of all time in Canadian soccer history. They played in minus 17, which is rare considering that usually the season doesn't start till the end of February. But the fact that they played so early in February, I guess, attributes to the weather and what it was like to play in that freezing temperature. But the game ended 0-0, which honestly is a pretty good result for Forge to go toe-to-toe with a side like Tigres, who are a Mexican giant, one of the best teams in our region. So, yeah, you must have been impressed with that result for Forge, right?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I didn't watch the full game, but I watched the highlights, and I saw some very good attacking moves by Forge, and their Tigris goalie had to make a couple of good saves. Of course, our Forge goalie, I think is Bartram. I think he ended up having something like 8 shots on goal, and I saw some fabulous saves from him. I don't know what the possession was. I imagine Tigres had the majority of possession from what I saw in the highlights, but we also had a chance to watch Flores, who we'll talk about a little later, playing for Tigres, and one shot on goal was outstanding. A volley. The goalie made a great save on him, but he definitely, if he comes along and plays in the March window for Canada, he will be a definite attacking plus addition for us on the Canada team. Tigres will go home now and play Forge at home, and it'll take an absolutely outstanding effort for Forge to get a win in Mexico, but we can hope for the best.
Yeah, I think it's exciting, and it shows how far these Canadian Premier League sides have come since the beginning. I mean, the season's only been in Canada, or the league's only been in Canada for 5 or 6 years now. So the progress that these teams have made in such a short amount of time is tremendous, and it's a testament to how the sport is growing in Canada and how these teams, these small teams in Canada, can now play against Mexican giants and get a result. It's really impressive, and I heard someone talking about it yesterday. They were saying that Gignac's salary from Tigres can, in 2 months, his salary will cover the entire Forges team salary for an entire season. And that's only one player on the Tigres team. So that just shows you the difference in budget that these teams have. So for Forge to be able to put out a performance like that, and yeah, the goalie stepped up, made some huge saves. He definitely kept them in the match, but I mean, Forge also had some chances to score too. It wasn't just one-way traffic, so it was impressive. But yeah, they're gonna need to pull out a masterclass if they want to get a win next week against Tigres. And you mentioned Marcelo Flores as well. I think, yeah, he had a great game, and he's been putting on some great performances lately with the Tigres jersey on. He scored 3 goals in his last 4 appearances, and that's quite impressive from him because he's kind of earned his way into the starting 11. And the Mexican manager, Javier Aguirre, came out and said that Marcelo will not be playing for Mexico, that he has chose to play for Canada. So it's interesting that we've heard from him that he's committed to Canada, but we haven't heard from the player directly that he's made this lifelong commitment. Because, of course, he can only file the transfer once to join Canada. So I'd think we'd be hearing soon that he will have made that decision. And yeah, it's like you said, it's an exciting profile for Canada because we don't have many players like him. He can play that 10 role, that attacking midfielder role, but he can also play on the wing. And it's an exciting profile for Canada. We haven't seen much of that come through our system. So it's good. And I think under Jesse Marsh, it's been really impressive how many dual nationals he's been able to recruit. Yeah, would you say you've been impressed with Marsh's ability to bring in players from different regions that have ties to multiple countries?
Well, he did, yes. I have been impressed, and I remember when he took the job, was it year and a half ago? He was saying he was going to focus on that. He was going to focus on these outstanding players who have dual citizenship and go after them and convince them to play for Canada. He's done that. I learned last night, or I heard on uh, the highlights that Flores was born 60 miles north of Hamilton, where the game was played.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so we can. He's definitely it's an excellent move he's making to pick up these players where he can.
Yeah. Yeah, let's shift our focus a bit here. As exciting as the CPL is, there's also been some exciting news on the Whitecaps front with some new signings and some contract extensions and some players leaving the club as well. So, yeah, we'll let all you Whitecaps supporters out there know about what's been going on lately. So, first of all, defender Giuseppe Bovalina. He has been transferred on loan to a Swedish Superranta side, Örebro SK. And this is through to December of 2026. So he'll be leaving the club on loan. And I think it makes sense. He didn't get much playing time last season. And hopefully at the Swedish side, he can be developed more and get some more meaningful minutes, because as much as he did learn under Sorensen, I'm sure he wasn't really able to show his progress because he didn't have much playing time. But it is a loan, so he probably will be coming back unless the side uses his purchase option. Another re-signing. So the Whitecaps announced center back Bilal Halbouni to a contract through to June 2027 with an option for 2028. So I think that's exciting. Bilal Halbouni had a good season last year, and it makes sense to sign him just for center back depth. And I'm sure he was promised a certain amount of minutes by Sorensen, because as well as he played last season, he might have expected a move where he would get more playing time. But maybe, in the Canadian Championship, he might start all the games, for example, or in different tournaments, because the Whitecaps are going to be involved in tons of tournaments. And then the other news is Jodrik Pupe, who we saw in very limited minutes in the MLS Cup playoffs, but he has been transferred to the Belgian side Saint Trudenis through to June 2026. So that is a short-term loan just till June, which is interesting, but there's an option to buy. So if the club like what they see from Pupe, they may choose to buy the player. But yeah, what stands out to you out of those three that I mentioned?
Well, I was actually caught by surprise when I heard about Albuni talking at the end of the year. He did get some valuable playing time. He was very useful to come in, especially with that game, that playoff game against LAFC, into overtime, extra time, and then went to finally penalty shots to beat LAFC. But he came in and played well. He actually did get injured towards the end there. He has, I think he has potential to help the team, like you say. And
Yeah, those are just some contract news. But on a more exciting note, we have some new signings to announce for the club. And of course, we knew that there would be some signings considering the departure of Jaden Nelson and Ali Ahmed. Those were two pretty big roles in the Whitecaps roster that we had to fill, and it looks like the Whitecaps did a good job of filling them. So the first player I want to mention is Azil Jackson, and he is joining the Whitecaps on loan from Polish side Jagiellonia Białystok, and he will be with us through to June 2026 with an option to purchase. So another loan. It seems loans are pretty popular amongst Whitecaps management this year. But yeah, he's an exciting player. 142 appearances so far across his senior career. He scored 19 goals and 23 assists. And yeah, he's an attacking midfielder. He can also play on the wing. And it's kind of a low-risk move for the Whitecaps, because if the loan doesn't go so well and in June they want to send him back to the Polish side, they can do so. Or if he shows well and has some good performances, we might choose to buy him. So, yeah, what do you think about this signing? Are you excited?
well, yeah, I think he's just 25 years of age, in his prime, almost age-wise. He's U.S. Background, so apparently he has some MLS experience. I'm not sure where, but
He's played with Minnesota, St. Louis City, and Columbus Crew. So he's played at three different sides in MLS.
so he's bringing that experience with him, so he should be a welcome addition to the side. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it's a good signing because we needed some more depth at the winger and at the midfield position.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's exciting, and hopefully he does well. And then yeah, the other player that the Whitecaps announced is Bruno Caicedo, who will join via transfer from Barcelona SC. So Caicedo's agreed to a U22 initiative, and this is a contract through to 2028, 2020 MLS season, and it may be extended if the Whitecaps want to. But yeah, it's exciting. He's an Ecuadorian international. He played at the top flight in Ecuador, and he showed a lot of promise at a young age. He's only 21 years old, so yeah, it's exciting, and it'll just add more winger depth that we desperately need. How do you feel about this acquisition?
Well, a definite positive move to bring him in. He'll be along with Ocampo and Cabrera. The three of them will be our 322 initiatives roster. I think we might not see him get a lot of playing time to start with. He brings a lot of raw talent and ability. He's dynamic, as Ocampo and Cabrera seem to be in their play, but the potential is there, and we have the kind of coaching that is, I think, is very, very good for these young players for their development. So I think the potential here is huge. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
for him.
with Caicedo, it's similar to Pedro Vite, who's also Ecuadorian. And if you remember a few years ago, Vite was brought in as a U22 initiative. So it
Mm-hmm.
seems like these are the types of players that the Whitecaps like to go for. With a very similar profile, Vite was a winger and was kind of brought in and transferred into a midfielder and was developed greatly under Sartini and Sorensen. He was kind of their major project with a player that they were working on. And they did a
Mm-hmm.
great job and got a good return on him on his transfer to Pumas. So I think that's kind of the idea of what they're going for here with Bruno Caicedo. As you said, it's a young, kind of underdeveloped, but lots of talent with the player.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ball progressing winger. He likes to bring the ball into the box. He's a good dribbler, good shooter. So he's going to add some speed to our side. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a similar profile that the Whitecaps have gone for over the years with midfielders and wingers.
Mm-hmm.
And he may not start off great, but who knows? Obviously, he's welcome to hit the ground running if that's what happens, but it's not guaranteed. But he'll definitely be a depth piece for the side, and that's something we needed with the departure of Nelson in particular, is some more depth
Exactly.
on the wing. So yeah, he's an exciting profile to look at. Finally, we have one more senior roster spot that the Whitecaps haven't used yet, and there's been some rumblings about a player from France coming in. His name is Sheikh Sabali, and it's pretty much confirmed that this will be a transfer now. We're just waiting for the Whitecaps to announce it. But he's a Senegalese international player. He just won the AFCON with Senegal. So that's kind of exciting for him, I'm sure. But yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
played for FC Metz, who was promoted last season from League Two in France to Ligue 1. And he had 15 goals 2 seasons ago with FC Metz. This season, he only had 14 appearances, but he had 2 goals in the top league in France. And yeah, it's exciting for the Whitecaps. I would think that he would be a starter for us on the left wing. He's played at the wing. He's also played at striker. He's been capped 12 times with Senegal, and yeah, his market value is around 3.5 million. So it's kind of that caliber of player that you bring in to start on a team. And yeah, I hope this transfer goes through and it's true because this is an exciting profile to look at. Yeah, did you have anything to add?
No, this must have just happened very recently. I didn't know about him joining the team or possibly joining the team.
Yeah, it's still kind of up in the air, but there's lots of reports, especially in France, that the player will be leaving and
Hmm.
joining the Whitecaps. And I think
Okay.
now we're just waiting on the Whitecaps to officially announce it, which will probably
Hmm.
happen soon. But if that's the case, he would be our final roster spot on our roster. So it would be sealed at that point. And Azil Jackson, Bruno Caicedo, and Sheikh Sabali would be our three key acquisitions. I guess Oliver Larraz as well. He was added maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Hmm.
yeah, we've made some good signings. Overall, are you happy with the way that this offseason has gone with the Whitecaps? Do you think they've made some good moves?
Yes, we've lost a couple of good players and who were starters for our team. So if we want to maintain the same quality of play and having the opportunity to go the distance in the tournaments, CONCACAF or the Leagues Cup or whatever we're playing in. We need to maintain that same quality and I think the signings have been well thought out and well researched, and I think the fans must be looking forward to seeing these new players join what was the nucleus of the team last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's similar to the offseason that the Whitecaps had last year where they made a few additions.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, it was the same nucleus, and they were just adding a few key pieces, which seems like the
Yeah.
right thing to do especially with the success we had last season. There's no
Mm-hmm.
reason
Mm-hmm.
to let a bunch of players go, but
No.
that's part of the benefit and downside of having a good season is the players on your club, especially being in the MLS, pick up a lot of interest from different clubs abroad.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll be sought after. They'll be looked upon around the league as possible signings. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if their contracts are over.
I think we're very fortunate to still have Berhalter and Kubas and Blackman and yeah, especially Berhalter in
Mm-hmm.
particular. A lot of people thought he was going to leave this year, but
Mm-hmm.
it's awesome to still have him. I mean, as Whitecap supporters, we're stoked because he was our player of the year last season, and
That's right.
he's made tremendous growth under Sartini and Sorensen, and
Mm-hmm.
he looks like a whole new player. So hopefully we can hold on to him for at least another year and win some trophies this year. I think that's the
Mm-hmm.
goal with this squad that we got now is to win trophies
Definitely.
because we've made it to the finals. We've showed we can compete at the highest level in this region. Now we just need to get it over the line and add some silverware to the cabinet.
Exactly. For sure.
Yeah, and I guess we can shift our focus a bit here to some rather disappointing news. Axel Schuster had a press conference on Monday, and it wasn't very optimistic, to say the least. Of course, with the Whitecaps' recent success, people expect the club to stay in the city. And it seems like the players and the fans have done all they can with selling out the stadium, and the players have been performing great. So there's not much else as supporters or players that we can do to keep the club in the city. But yeah, Axel Schuster came out and he had some news, I guess, some updates on the sale of the club, the stadium, how the stadium's been going, and then what progress they've made on those fronts. And then there was also some news that some of the games this season won't be played at BC Place. This is in Leagues Cup and in Champions Cup. Some of the games might not be played because BC Place has other events taking place at the same time. So that's going to overlap with when those games would be. And with Whitecaps not owning BC Place, that obviously complicates the situation because they don't get priority. So yeah, I know you listened to the press conference too. What were some key takeaways that you took out of it?
Excuse me. Well, Axel Schuster, general manager, seemed to be in a rather pessimistic mood based on what has happened. It was a year ago now that the Whitecaps, the club, and the city of Vancouver made an MOU agreement to consider all the possibilities of building a new stadium, financing a new stadium at the PNE grounds. Basically, he said, there's nothing happening much on that front. He said the process of trying to get a new lease at BC Place has come to an end. He's frustrated. I sense that he's very frustrated. The Whitecaps are playing in a stadium which is not theirs, of course, as was mentioned by Tai, that they have to fit in their games with all these other events that are going on at BC Place. And I suppose this could be the most difficult year in the sense that the World Cup's coming to Vancouver, so that makes it even more difficult, for whatever 2 to 3 months. That if they, depending on how they do in these other tournaments, some of these other tournament games are going to be have to be played in other stadiums or other. I remember a few years ago they had to play in Portland in one playoff game or one. I think it was a playoff game.
Yeah, it was the play. It was a play-in game to get into the playoffs.
Okay, yeah. I
Vancouver were
remember
supposed to host.
they went down there and they won 5-0. But the fact is, they have the second, or they're in the top half dozen MLS teams for fan support, and people interested in the team come out to watch them, but they're very last in revenue from the games. Of all the 30 MLS teams, they're just not getting enough money from ticket sales or from their food venues there and drink venues. They're not getting enough of a cutback. So it's this big chasm that exists, and so it's frustrating. And we know the governor of the league was here couple of months ago saying the Whitecaps can't continue on this basis as far as the league goes. Financially, they can't continue. So one of the ministers from the government, who's actually a Whitecaps season ticket holder, I'm trying to think of his name now, but Ravi Kalam says that they've worked with PAV company that manages the stadium. PAV has said they'll go to $0, zero net dollars, and give the 1 million, $1.5 difference in profit to the Whitecaps, and they'll sign up a new contract with them. So he is doing what he thinks could be done from a provincial point of view to help the team. But at this point, it's a very frustrating and rather bleak picture, it seems. I understand that Axel Schuster is going to talk again to the media tomorrow regarding any further developments. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's very concerning, this whole situation, because the club is up for sale, and there's a potential scenario where buyers come in and they want to move the club out of the city because they don't see a future in the city. And not seeing a future largely comes down to the deal that the Whitecaps have with BC Place, because, as you said, they're one of the top teams in the league in terms of performances, in terms of fans, and they built up an absolute buzz around the team last year, but they're not keeping revenue because BC Place hasn't given them a good deal. So they're not keeping the majority of the revenue. Therefore, the MLS has no choice but to try to move the team out of the city unless they find a better deal. And I know Axel was talking about how he's met with over 100 different potential buyers of the club. And he hasn't had progress with any of them. They've all pulled out due to the fact that none of them see a future with the club in this city. Just due to a revenue standpoint, there's no opportunity to make money, and it's not a smart investment for any of these buyers. So that's of huge concern. If he's met with over 100 buyers and none of them are seeing potential for this club in Vancouver, that obviously immediately raises some red flags. And then, yeah, of course, there was the memorandum signed to commit to building a stadium, but again, there hasn't really been any development on that front. As Schuster was saying, they haven't started construction, and they still have to work on acquiring the land, and it's a whole process, of course. And we're talking 3-4 years down the line when this would even be a stadium that we could use.
That's right.
But something needs to happen for the now. We can't. The club and the management can't afford to wait for this stadium to be built. We either need a better deal with BC Place, or another solution is a temporary stadium. And Inter Miami had one last season. Chase Stadium was a temporary stadium, and this season they'll be in their new stadium, which seats a lot more fans. But that's always an option, because if they are able to put in a temporary stadium, they will be able to keep all that revenue that they're bringing in with ticket sales. So that's a possibility as well. But it looks like we're going to need to see some big progress this year to have any hope of keeping the club in this city. And the situation is getting more dire by the day. And I'd say there's definitely reason to be worried, but as fans, we should remain optimistic, because the unwavering support that we've showed for this club throughout the years is not going to change. And if we keep showing up day in and day out, I think the club they'll do as best as they can to keep the Whitecaps in Vancouver. And no one wants to see the club leave the city. That's important to mention. But there's just not many options at this point. It's a bit of a disheartening situation. So yeah, I guess we can talk about some of the MLS signings now. There's been lots of movement on that front. Of course, the January transfer window has just come to an end, so most of the signings just got over the door kind of last minute. So we have a bunch of different players to talk about, and we'll kind of be brief about this. So I want to start off with a few big name players that are coming back to the league. They left a couple seasons ago, and now they're coming back. So this is exciting to have these acquisitions. And these players performed somewhat well with their clubs in other regions of North America and South America. But yeah, the first player is Mateusz Bogusz, who of course used to play for LAFC. And he's kind of haunted the Whitecaps over the years with his goals against us in the playoffs, particularly. I remember he scored the winning goal in one of our series. So yeah, he's signing with Houston, and Houston desperately need a DP star player. I know they also brought back another big name midfielder from Mexico as well. So yeah, they've made some good signings in the offseason, and Bogusz is a key addition to them. He joins from Cruz Azul, and another signing is Facundo Torres, who's going to Austin FC. He used to play for Orlando, and he joins from Palmeiras for $1 million. So yeah, it must excite you, Grandpa, to see these players coming back to the league, right?
Coming back. That's right. Yeah, they know what the MLS is all about, and they're probably excited to come back themselves. Bogusz is just 24. I think he's arriving for about a $10 million transfer fee. Houston needs these kinds of players. They've been sort of not doing so well with their games the last few years. So yeah, and I think it's a definite plus for Houston to have these two fellows on board.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with Facundo Torres as well. Like I said, he played for Orlando, but coming in from Palmeiras, he had a very successful season. I think last year he scored about 13 goals. So he's a great acquisition for Austin. One rivalry I'm excited to see is Jadon Nelson and Facundo Torres, because of course they're both going to Austin. And as I recall, Facundo Torres was a left winger, the same as Nelson. So maybe Nelson isn't going to get the kind of minutes he was expecting going to Austin because of Torres being, a $13 million player. He's probably going to start every match, but they'll probably find a way to fit both of them in because they're both such key contributors in the league. So yeah, I think it's exciting to see how that goes. Another signing that was announced a few days ago from Inter Miami is Berterame, who's coming in from Cruz Azul. Yeah, German Berterame. He's a big player. He's got a big frame. He's from Cruz Azul, where he had some really successful campaigns over there. Yeah, he'll be looking forward to joining Inter Miami. Of course, playing with Messi is a plus. I'm sure that's attracting a lot of players to the club. And yeah, Inter Miami have had a huge offseason, probably one of the biggest I've ever seen from an MLS club. They've brought in multiple big name players like Dane St. Clair, and yeah, just players from around the league that have had success, and then some internationals as well. So they're going to be an absolute juggernaut this season if they can put it all together. But yeah, what did you think about the Berterame signing? He came in for $15 million.
Yeah, 15 million. Yeah, transfer fee. Well, he's he can score goals, right? He's a proven goal scorer. He scored 68 goals, 15 assists. 153. I think it's Monterrey he played for, Tai. I think. I had Bogusz from Cruz Azul.
Okay, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe Berterame is from Monterrey.
So he's coming up from Monterrey. He's in the prime of his playing days, playing years, 27 years of age. So he's just he should be getting lots of goals as if they need them from Miami. Maybe he'll outscore Messi this year.
Yeah,
I don't
could be.
know, but they're going to get goals from him, that's for sure. And like you say, they've just had these huge signings, and you sort of shake your head, and they're spending all this money,
How is it possible?
and they're in a different sort of league of their own with this signings they're making. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they just have unlimited funding,
Hmm.
probably
Hmm.
largely due to the support from Beckham. I mean, that's probably a part of it.
Well,
And
that's yeah.
the club just
Mhm.
has a lot of money, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm, yeah, I'm concerned that Miami is able to spend all this money. Of course,
Hmm.
transfer fees is one thing, but salary cap is a it's a reality in MLS. The clubs can't pay players over a certain amount in total. So yeah, you kind of shake your head and you wonder how is Miami fitting all these players into their roster because
Right.
they're all big
Hmm.
signings.
Hmm.
They just signed
Yeah.
another player. I forget his first
Hmm.
name, but Pedro from Tottenham. He's a left back,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
originally he was considered a DP player who they would sign, but now Berterame is a DP, and then you also have Messi and what's the Argentine's name in the midfield from Atletico Madrid? Anyway, they have
Yeah.
three DPs essentially, but they should have four or five with these different players they've brought in. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit concerning to see to see the team that they're putting together. One signing that kind of makes you jump out of your seat and get excited is Timo Werner. He played in Europe for a long time now, and he's going to San Jose Earthquakes from RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. And Timo Werner has 150 career goals in Europe and 50 assists playing in some top leagues. He's played for Chelsea in the Premier League, and
Hmm.
he's one of those signings that kind of makes you bat an eye and just realize the kind of moves that MLS and the kind of players that they're attracting now with these big name
Hmm.
players. Timo Werner is a Champions League. He's a champion. He's a Champions League champion. So yeah, he's a big player, and it's a key acquisition from San Jose. What did you think about that signing?
Yeah. It's a wonderful signing. For San Jose. He's 29 years old. He's going to provide definite leadership out there for the team with all of his experience. And they're paying a fair amount of money. To complete the deal, San Jose acquired Werner's discovery priority from Red Bulls New York in exchange for 50,000 in 2026. General allocation money. He'll offer amazing quality on the field and tremendous leadership for the team with his background, his experience. So it's a wonderful signing for San Jose.
Yeah, they must be delighted to have a big star come in. Of course,
Hmm. Hmm.
Chicho Arango left the club in this offseason as well. So they're looking to replace him, and I have a feeling this is the player that they're going to expect to put up some goals for them this year because they really need help in the goals category.
Hmm.
They just had
Hmm.
one of their star midfielders leave and go to Nashville as well. So that's concerning for them. And they're going to need to do a bit of a rebuild this season, I think. And they'll be relying on Werner to, keep them afloat throughout the season. And then, yeah, let's touch on the players that are leaving the MLS. There's a few exciting moves, and it shows you how the league is growing now, and how these players who grew up in the MLS and they came through the academies in the United States and in Canada, and now they're making big moves to Europe at young ages, and
Hmm.
it's cool to see. And um, the first player is Obed Vargas, who plays for Seattle. He's leaving to go to Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid is, of course, one of the giants in Spain, one of the top three teams in La Liga, and I think they acquired him for $3.5 million transfer. And he's only 20 years old, so they'll be looking to develop him more in Spain. But yeah, did you have anything to add on that one?
Well, I think it's a real tribute to the Seattle Academy because he joined the Seattle Academy when he was 14 years of age, and he's been with them up until 2019 in the academy. He was considered, this is a tribute to the academy when a player like that, he's originally from Anchorage, Alaska, went to Seattle to work with in the academy at that young age, and has developed his skills so well through the academy that and he was ranked number one, I think, last year on the under 22 ranking. So he's really, you couldn't have asked for a better start to his career than what he's had, and it's a real tribute to Seattle and to have Atletico Madrid come calling on your doorstep like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's exciting for him. And he's still so young too, so that just
That's
shows you the
right.
kind of promise they see in the player. And he plays as a
Mm-hmm.
midfielder, and yeah, he had some big goals for the Sounders this year, so it's going to be a big hole for them to replace. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I haven't heard any signings announced from Seattle this offseason.
No.
Nothing to note really. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it makes you
No.
wonder that they must have something cooking because they're going to need a new midfielder to replace that hole that he'll leave. But yeah, other than that, Martin Pass, who's a goalkeeper from FC Dallas, he's going to Ajax in the Eredivisie, in the Netherlands. So that's a good signing or a good transfer for him. It's definitely a step up in league and in play.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he'll look to get some significant minutes for Ajax. Announced yesterday, actually, is FC Dallas is replacing Martin Pass with Jonathan Sirois from Montreal.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's another big signing for them, and I'm sure they're excited to get a replacement for him right away, so they don't have to worry about
Mm-hmm.
having a number one to start the season. And then, yeah, the last signing I wanted to discuss is Alex Freeman to Villarreal, and he leaves from Orlando. He's young, he's 20 years old, and yeah, that must be exciting for him. And he's a U.S. international as well. He made his debut this season, and so did Berhalter. They played together, and they had some great success. I think back to that game where they won 5-0 over Uruguay, I think it was, and they just played him off the park that day. And Alex Freeman was a big part of that. MLS All-Star Player of the Year, got into the best 11 this year. So yeah, Villarreal have been a big side in bringing in talent from the MLS. They just signed Tani Oluwaseyi, the Canadian international, back in the summer, and he's done well for them. And then they also have Buchanan, another Canadian who's come in. So yeah, they're really supporting these leagues, and I'm sure they see the potential with these young players coming through. What do you think about that move? And also Martin Pass, if you want to add anything to the goalkeepers.
Yeah. Well, certainly Sirois has proven himself over the last few years as an excellent goalie, and Dallas will benefit from his experience and his shot stopping ability. I think they're receiving 350,000 general allocation money from Montreal and some other money, GM, over the next 2 years too. So it's if performance metrics are met. So in 102 matches, sorry, in 23 matches last year, he posted 4 clean sheets for Montreal. Yeah, he should get some definite playing time in Dallas. You mentioned Freeman. Yeah, Alex Freeman going off to Villarreal. He's just 21, U.S. international. He's had a meteoric rise. Top is $7 million transfer. I think he was out of contract at this point when he was signed. He's been an MLS All-Star, and he's ready for another challenge, and he'll probably get that over in Europe.
Yeah, yeah, that caps off our MLS transfers and signings there. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment of our podcast. And finally, I just want to get into some Canadian moves, Canadians abroad in Europe. And there's been some big moves lately on that front. And these are players that needed moves, and they want to keep their World Cup dreams alive. So they, of course, want to leave their club situations, which aren't great at the moment, and get as much playing time as possible while still playing in Europe is the hope for most of these players. So yeah, the first one that we can talk about is Kyle Larin. He was on loan at Feyenoord from Mallorca, and he had a very slow season at Feyenoord. I think he only scored a goal or two and played very few minutes. So yeah, he needed a move. He was one of Canada's top strikers just a few years ago, but his dip in form has been very notable. And yeah, he makes the move to Southampton in the Championship, which is a good level. Of course, Ali Ahmed just went to the championship with Norwich. So, yeah, it's cool to see Canadians playing some football there. And yeah, what do you think about this move for Larin?
Well, I think it's an opportunity again for him to step up and play at a decent level. The Championship League is, a physical league. It's demanding, and he needs to regain his confidence after not doing so well the last year or two. So maybe it's his last chance to prove himself.
For
I
sure.
think with the Canada team, I think he's on the bubble there, so to speak. He might not get a starting role. He definitely needs to do something in the next few months here before the World Cup if he's going to if he's playing time for Canada. He's defenders are tough in the Championship League. They're physical. They're tough. It's his last chance to really step up and play better. Yeah.
Yeah, I was told as well that Larin is expected to have a starting role at Southampton and play a significant amount of minutes. So
Okay.
that's gonna play into his ability to show his worth, and
Right.
he's gonna need to gain the trust of his teammates to start off the campaign because he's gonna be thrusted into that striker spot, and
Yeah.
he's gonna get the service. Southampton is a team that likes to throw crosses into the box, and that's kind of what Larin thrives off of, is that one-touch finishing. So it is a good matchup for him, but yeah, he's going to need to be clinical, and this is, yeah, like you said, this is his last chance to show Marsh that he deserves a spot at that World Cup. And if he doesn't have a decent start at Southampton, I wouldn't expect many minutes from him at all at the World Cup
No,
because we have other strikers that are in form right now,
that's
and
right.
these players would get the jump over Larin just because of how well they're playing at their clubs. And then, yeah, let's talk about Jason Russell-Rowe next. He leaves Columbus Crew on a transfer to Toulouse. Toulouse is a Ligue 1 side in the French league, and yeah, Russell-Rowe is absolutely stoked on this move. He said it's always been his dream to play in Europe, and this is another player that's gotten a move from MLS to Europe and to a top five league in Europe. So
Mhm.
this is going to help his odds to make the World Cup squad for sure. But of course, these are all performance-based assumptions. If he plays well, he might earn that fourth or fifth striker position in our roster for the World Cup. So yeah, what do you have to add about this acquisition?
Well, yeah. It's a positive move for him. I think at Columbus he scored 16 goals and had 5 assists in 80 games, 80 appearances there. But he's being sold for $2.5 million plus add-ons and some sell-on clauses. But he should get playing time and ahead of the World Cup, and that's what he wants at a good high level. So he has this opportunity to again to work on improving his play further, and then possibly at Columbus, and so he's in fine form for the World Cup.
Yeah, he's still relatively young. I think he's 25 years old or something. So yeah, he'll be a young player that they can hope to develop a bit more, and it's a new challenge for him. And at Columbus, he wasn't getting as many minutes as he would have liked, just because of he played under Chicho Arango, their number one striker for the last few seasons. And after he left, Russell Rowe
Mhm.
kind of took up that spot and played alongside
Right.
Diego Rossi, and they were good together. But yeah, he didn't always get a ton of minutes, so I
Mhm.
think they'll give him a good shot at this new team. And then yeah, announced a couple days ago, Kone was bought out by Sassuolo. They paid 13 million for the player from Marseille. He was on loan from Marseille at Sassuolo, and he's had a tremendous season. He scored 4 goals so far, playing in Serie A, the top flight in Italy and a top five league in the world. And yeah, 13 million is it's a steep transfer for a Canadian. It's not often we see these kind of numbers being thrown around. So it shows you the kind of promise that they see in him as a player. And yeah, they trust him, and he's had an absolute dominant season in the Italian league. So yeah, I'm just elated for the player. I think he deserves this move. He's been working so hard over the last few years to earn a move to a big team, and he's finally showing his worth. So I'm very excited for him. Yeah, what did you have to say about this?
Well, like you said, he's he $13 million transfer fee. His from Marseille, and he's now on a permanent deal. So they obviously are impressed with his play, and he's scoring a few goals, and he's got the confidence he needs, and the confidence he's playing well, motivating. He should uh, he should be a starter if things continue the way they are on Canada's on his team. When he's playing well, he's playing very well. There's been some criticism in the past that he has the odd bad game here and there, but he's definitely has potential and can play the best with play well with the best of them. Yeah, best of the team.
Yeah, he didn't get along very well with the manager, Roberto De Zerbi at Marseille. They had
Mm.
some pretty heated arguments, and one of which went public in a documentary that was released about a year ago. So it's unfortunate that De Zerbi didn't trust the player, but I think what Kone really needed was a manager to just put his arm around his shoulder and put some trust in him and have faith and give him the opportunity to show himself. And that's really what's gone down at Sassuolo. And yeah, he pretty well starts every game, and he's one of their most important players. And he's been very consistent, which, like you said, he was lacking before. He wasn't the most consistent player, but he showed great consistency. And yeah, he's one of Canada's most promising young players right now. And I think his ceiling is so high. That's the exciting part about him. And yeah, finally, the last transfer that I think has been announced, but not officially by the club. But there's been multiple reports coming out that Stefan Eustáquio will be joining LAFC in the MLS. He leaves from Porto, and this is a move that was much needed because he's hardly had any playing time at Porto this season. Only made a couple starts, and he's come off the bench a handful of times. But they have a lot of midfielders that are showing a lot of promise at Porto, and Eustáquio's kind of aging out of that squad. So yeah, he needs some more playing time. He's one of Canada's most important players, central midfielder. So yeah, he'll be elated to join LAFC. Gets to play with Bouanga and Son and Schaffelberg. So that's going to be an exciting team next year for sure. And oh yeah, Matthew Chouanier as well plays in the midfield. So he's familiar with a lot of these Canadians that are over there. Ryan Raposo as well is another Canadian. So yeah, what did you think about this transfer?
Well, I think it's definitely needs to leave Porto, like you're saying. He's not getting enough playing time, especially leading up to the World Cup. He needs to get back to playing regularly. And if he does move to LAFC, that will be a good move. LAFC might not be as good a team as Porto, but the fact he'll get playing time will be worthwhile. He provides such leadership, immeasurable leadership. In a game fairly recently, he wasn't playing, but he played the last 9 minutes of the game when Porto played. But he talked to the players about his own journey as a player and the sacrifices he made. And apparently that speech galvanized the group for that particular game. His speech was very powerful. According to Fabioli, the manager of Porto, he was wanting to give strength to the younger players. So if he can do that for Canada, we'll need that. He has that potential to be a real leader out there for the younger teams. So for the younger players. So hopefully he'll get more playing time and it'll be on he's very critical. It's a critical part of Canada's team, his position, and hopefully he'll be with the team after playing with LAFC for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an exciting signing for LAFC, and he's a game-changing midfielder in the MLS for sure. But it's a bit of a disappointing move because as Canadians, we feel like he still has the quality to play in Europe and play for a top side. There was rumors of him joining
Yeah.
Celta Vigo in La Liga, which would have been an exciting move for him. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing that he's going to the MLS, but who knows? This could be a temporary thing, and if
That's
he has a
right.
good World Cup, he could be back in Europe in no time. And I think
Hmm.
that's the exciting thing about the World Cup is it provides so much exposure to the players, no matter what team they're playing for. So I think we can expect some big moves for Canadians after the World Cup. But yeah, until then, we'll keep you guys updated on everything. We did a pretty lengthy episode here today. We went for over an hour. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. Leave us your thoughts on the video, anything you agree with, don't agree with. And yeah, we're going to keep you guys updated on Canadians, on the Whitecaps, and MLS news in general. Yeah, tune in once a week. We'll be uploading a podcast, and we appreciate the support. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you. Yeah, cheers. Bye now.